Monday at noon Pacific time. All these recordings and slides and exercises are archived in our members area. And now all the recordings are available for free on my YouTube channel at www.youtube.com/user/Paul Hoyt. The reasons I do these office hours presentations is because I know that being a successful business owner can be a great experience, but I also know that it's tough. You need education, training, tools, and team in order to be successful. And I want you to get to know me because I think that when you get to know me, that you'll want to do business with me. Some of the things to know about me is that I really do care about the people that I work with. I want you to succeed in every area of your life, whatever that means to you. I want you to find the greatness, the happiness, the divinity within yourself, and then remember it, embrace it, and live it every single day as I do. And my vision is to help millions of CEOs and entrepreneurs accelerate their business growth and enjoy greater harmony and balance in their lives. And I know that there's millions of them out there, from the person who's just running a small part-time business to the one who's starting a network marketing or a direct marketing activity, or somebody that really jumps into it, invests a lot of time and money, and gets into a Schedule C on their income tax return, or forms a formal company and goes for it in that way. With our office hours presentations, we have an in-depth discussion of a business success principle. I offer some closing remarks, some special offers, and an invitation for next week's session. Then we go into open questions and answers. Questions and answers first about the topic at hand, and then anything that you want to chat about. I encourage you to join us during the course of the call in our Brilliant Business Groups. We have both Brilliant Business Groups on Facebook and on LinkedIn. On Facebook, it's https://www.facebook.com/groups/Brilliant Business. And we set up a new link last night for the LinkedIn Brilliant Business Group, and it is http://bit.ly/Brilliant Business Group. And you can get right to our Brilliant Business Group on LinkedIn, or you can go to LinkedIn and type Brilliant Business Group into the search bar and get there. Every day on Facebook, I post the energy of the day and the business success principle of the day in the Facebook group. I post the business success principle of the day 5 days a week on the Facebook group and in the Brilliant Business Group on LinkedIn. You can make comments, to ask questions, share insights and takeaways, and we support each other in these groups. And if you haven't done so already, I encourage you to like my business page on Facebook too. Today's topic is on organic growth, how to fertilize your business. There's not a book associated with this one. This is a topic that I made up. And as always, I relate the topic of the day to one or more of the key performance areas. And when it comes to organic growth, it's usually the three areas of business: leadership, marketing, and product development, working hand in hand in order to develop and implement a growth strategy. All of the other areas of business, of course, are involved with that. But when it comes to the planning of deciding what sort of organic growth strategy we're going to do and exactly how we're going to carry that out, it's usually leadership, marketing, and product development who are working hand in hand to decide the strategy and then implement the strategy. On today's call, we're going to talk about the old days, the good old days, and growth today. We'll define growth a little bit. We'll talk about non-organic growth, because I think it's important for you to know that before we talk about organic growth. And then we'll talk about the 5 classic organic growth strategies that you might employ right now today to grow your business. And then we're going to talk about 3 other subjects that I think are very important: big steps and small steps, the stages of growth and how that relates to your organic growth strategies, and product life cycle factors and how that relates to your organic growth strategies. And then we'll sum it all up with the bottom line, as we usually do. First, let's talk about the old days, the good old days. I want you to imagine for a minute that it's the 1850s. So this is like before the Industrial Revolution. No such thing as cars, no such thing as even telephones or the internet. There was some telegraph back then, but communications were really poor. Imagine that it's the 1850s and you're a general store owner. You moved to a budding town somewhere on the prairie. There's not very many people there, but you see the opportunity to set up a general store, so you do that. Your growth strategy was primarily that as the town grew, your business grew. Typically, there was only one general store in those towns, and they carried everything. And as more and more people flocked to the town and people came into the town to do their Sunday shopping or monthly shopping, your general store would grow as well. You would typically add more products to increase the selection that you had, and you might even expand the store by building on another room or building out a, kind of a back shed where you can have the hardware supplies or something else. And if your business was really booming and the town was really booming, you might add locations. First local, across the town, maybe a few miles, and then regional, like in the next town or the town down the road. Typically towns were, a day's horse ride away in those days. And then maybe national, and then maybe global. That was the only way we grew businesses back in those days. And our growth was severely limited with most small businesses because they were almost all family-owned businesses. The store was on the first level, and the family lived upstairs in the loft and on the second level. Every business was a family-owned business, and the only way to expand to another location was if one of the children, typically the oldest male in the family, decided that they want to be in the family business, and the family would put up the money to start another store of a similar kind, or maybe a complementary product store, somewhere close by, where their family, their son's family, typically could live upstairs in the loft and run the store down on the first level. So expansions weren't very prominent at all. In fact, at some point in time in the 1850s, it was like 99% of all businesses were very small businesses with 2 or 3 or 4 people working in the business. And it wasn't until the Industrial Revolution and the invention of the assembly line and the automation of using steam powered to run big plants that we started to see larger companies formed, in the late 19th century or so. So that's the way it was in the old days. But today, it's a lot different. Today, global markets are reachable immediately. With the power of the internet, you can be selling things, information products, and even physical products to people in Europe and Asia and Australia and all over the world very quickly. In addition to that, we have digital products instead of just physical products, so that we can sell things, either our services that we deliver digitally or our information products and training products that we deliver digitally, or music and entertainment products and movies and songs that we deliver digitally. We can sell them all over the world. It's a totally different business model. The systems that we have allow us to expand much, much easier, because we can put in a system in store number 1, employ that exact same system in store number 2, and really leverage the investment that we have made in our first store in terms of those systems that really facilitate the setting up of locations 2 and 3 and 4 down the road. And it's so much easier today. Let's talk about growth for a second, because as we define organic growth, it occurred to me that growth means different things to different people. For most people, growth is classically revenues and profits. We want to grow revenues and we want to grow profits, and that's what growth means to us. But not necessarily. I've talked to some clients that says, I don't really want to grow revenues and profits. In fact, I'd like to cut back my revenues, and I understand that I would also cut back on my profits because I want more free time. For them, growth of their business meant that the business meets their lifestyle a little bit more than it did before. Sometimes growth is in terms of just customers. We want market share, but we're not even in business yet. Especially out here in the Bay Area, early stage companies like Facebook, Google, LinkedIn, and Twitter, had no idea what their revenue model was when they began. They were just after eyeballs. They were just after customers. And that's what growth meant to them. As businesses grow, and especially as they get investors and as they prepare for exit, then growth means growing the asset value of the customer, of the business. And it may mean that we have less revenues. It may mean that we have a little less profit, but if we've invested heavily in the asset value of the company, in intellectual property assets or in physical assets, buildings and land and furniture and fixtures and those sorts of things, we may actually have a business that has less revenue and less profit, but has greater asset value, especially if the asset value is seen to be strategic asset value. And sometimes we just want to grow in terms of market share. So as we think about organic growth, I think one of the very first questions is, what does success look like to you? What does growth look like to you? Is growth really all about revenue and profits, or is growth about market share? Is growth about having more customers instead of fewer customers, and the other aspects of growth? One other thing I wanted to mention, one of the things that I do is love to talk to companies who are preparing for exit. And one of the things we look at is the customer profile. Where are your revenues coming from? And if your revenues, if like 40 or 50% of your revenues are coming from 2 or 3 clients, we really coach people to do customer portfolio diversity. Far better to have 10 medium clients than to have 2 or 3 large clients, because the business is seen to be more stable. So yeah, if I had a company with $1 million in revenue and it's coming from just 2 clients, I'd rather have a company with $900,000 in revenue with 10 clients where that was spread fairly evenly, because there's actually more asset value in that. It's a greater strategic value to somebody who might want to purchase the business because there's less risk in a company like that. So in many cases, growth can mean different things to different people. Let's talk about organic growth, because that's the subject of today. Organic growth is defined as being growth that comes from a company's existing businesses, as opposed to growth that comes from buying new businesses. It comes from increasing output and increasing sales with the existing products and the existing product lines. It might involve new locations, but it's primarily about growing the existing business. Non-organic growth, on the other hand, then, is about acquisitions, mergers, and joint ventures, partnerships, and what I would say is new direction whenever there is another business entity involved. I also, by the way, consider it to be non-organic growth whenever you're changing your product line so much that even if it's in the context of the same business entity, from a legal point of view, it is an entirely different business. So if you were in the landscaping business and you decided to open up a child daycare center, man, to me that is non-organic growth, because it's not gaining additional business from existing product lines and from existing product and service endeavors. It's totally new. So I consider brand new directions as being non-organic growth as well. There are some reasons why it is a really, really good idea to have non-organic growth in addition to organic growth. First of all, there's limitations on organic growth. Generally speaking, it is difficult over a long period of time to grow your business more than 30 or 40% per year without having some non-organic factors, especially if your business involves physical products. Now, with digital products like music, information products, training products, those sorts of things, it is quite possible to grow your business exponentially, astronomically year over year, to double your business for 5 or 10 years in a row, because you don't have the limitations involved with physical products. I know there's possibility for businesses to have, $12 or $15 million a year business with only 5 or 10 people working there. So if yours is a digital business, you don't have near the limitations of organic growth, but you still have some limitations of organic growth. Some of those limitations might be just in the area of customers. You've reached as many customers as you can as quickly as you can, and you need to have some non-organic growth in order to grow any further. You may have limitations on your staff. It takes a while to train people to do things, and not every great technician will become a great manager. So cultivating managers and even entrepreneurs within your own existing staff, and then hiring other great managers and staff to work with you can be a real challenge. It may be easier, for example, to go buy a business than it is to expand your business. When it comes to staff, there's technical issues and there's management issues, as we just talked about. One of the interesting things here in Silicon Valley is we see companies like Facebook and Google buying a lot of companies, And oftentimes they buy those companies not just for their great ideas and for their intellectual property, they actually buy them for the engineers, because it's difficult to get, say 10 quality engineers or 20 quality engineers. If they can buy a company that has a product that they think that they can monetize, and they can get those engineers coming over for, say a 2-year employment contract, then that's a big deal for them, because really exceptionally talented folks are rare wherever you are, and they're at a premium here in Silicon Valley. Another limitation of organic growth you might have is with suppliers. If you just have one manufacturing facility or 2 or 3 manufacturing facilities who themselves are challenged with growth, you may find yourself being limited because of your ability to source some of your raw materials or to grow in terms of the service providers that you have. If it takes a really exceptionally talented skill set to deliver the service that you're having or to install the products that you're delivering, you may find yourself limited with your organic growth mechanisms because of issues with your suppliers and with your staff. Other reasons for non-organic growth include diversification, both related and unrelated diversification. So related diversification means that, we have a shoe store and we're going to open up, we're going to buy another store that's going to be a broader clothing store of some kind, or a small little department store of some kind, that gives us the diversification that we're looking for to have a more stable company going forward. Unrelated diversification might be because you just see a big opportunity, and you see the opportunity to take your management skill set and the money that you have and maybe even the customer base and leverage that into an entirely different product line. You might do, as we mentioned earlier with Google and some of the other companies, have non-organic growth, form an acquisition or form a merger with somebody because of the technology and expertise they have. You might just see an opportunity out there in the marketplace that you want to take advantage of. You might have a burger shop and realize that, there is no ice cream store within 10 miles of us. I think if we opened an ice cream store right next door to our burger shop, that even though that it's not exactly the same business at all, that you might see that to be a tremendous opportunity. Another case for non-organic growth is what I call securing the supply chain. We talked earlier about limitations with your suppliers might be standing in the way of rapid organic growth. You might also be at risk if much of your supplies are coming from one particular supplier. And in order to secure your own supply chain and to guarantee the continued success of your current business, maybe the best thing that you can do is to buy that supplier so that you have control over that, and you can control the output, the quality of it, and the quantity of that output so it serves your own growth needs. And finally, one good reason to have non-organic growth is market dominance. A classic strategy with regards to that is what they call a product roll-up strategy. So I have a printing company, for example. If I have a printing company and I decide that there are 4 or 5 other printing companies around, we're all just kind of struggling for the same business, I may decide to have a roll-up strategy, which means that I'm going to buy those other printing companies, roll them up under a single brand, and instead of having, say, 5 $1 million companies, now I've got one $5 or $6 million company, which is in itself more valuable than the 5 $1 million companies were in an aggregate. The other reason for having non-organic growth is rapidly increasing asset value. If I've got a $1 million company and I buy another $1 million company, all of a sudden I've got a $2 million company, and that's a greater asset value that gives me more lending power, may have a greater valuation multiple, gives me more market reach, gives me something that's a lot more valuable to somebody who may want to invest or purchase my company. So there's a lot of good reasons for non-organic growth. With that being said, the subject of today is on organic growth. So I want to talk about the 5 organic growth strategies one by one. They are: sell more to existing customers, get more customers in your existing market, expand to new markets, introduce new products, and forming partnerships and alliances. Let's talk about those one by one. First, when it comes to Selling more to existing customers, one of the things that you may do that is just with more touches. With a little bit of additional marketing or an additional sales staff, you may reach out to your existing customer base and increase the lifetime value of the customer just by knocking on their door more often. For example, if you would have a door-to-door, and we don't do this much anymore, but if you had a traveling salesman approach or a door-to-door selling approach, if you touch that customer twice a year, you're not going to sell as much as if you touch that customer 4 times a year or 12 times a year. So you can sell more to existing customers just by having additional marketing or sales staff touches. You can also have volume purchase agreements. You may offer to those customers, I see that you normally buy 10 of these a year. If you'll just increase that to 20, we can offer you a discount, which increases your cash flow and has the tendency to increase the lifetime value of the customer while reducing your sales costs. You may introduce loyalty programs, which encourage people to buy more and more because they get special perks once they have purchased so much of your products and services. You can offer specials and promotions to your existing customer base, and you can design product funnels. So a product funnel is a particular way of organizing your goods and services so that it guides people into purchasing more and more from you over time. And the easiest way of all, by the way, to sell more to existing customers is to raise prices. I find that many clients are challenged when it comes to raising prices, mainly because they've got stuck in their head that their products are only worth something, and they don't realize that the product today is worth a lot more than it was 5 years ago. It's a little easier when you have a physical product than it is when you have a digital product when it comes to raising product prices, because with physical products you have components, and as the price of those components go up, you realize in order to maintain the margins you have to raise the price of your products too. So it's a little easier to raise prices whenever you have a physical product than it is a digital product. But you have to raise prices with digital products as well. So here's all the ways that there are to sell more to your existing customer base. Some of these cost you a little bit more, but some of them don't cost you much at all. Loyalty programs, volume purchase agreements, specials and programs can only cost you a little bit when it comes to marketing, but can dramatically improve the lifetime value of your customer by allowing you ways to sell more to your existing customer base. The second classic organic growth strategy is to get more customers in your existing markets. One way to do that is through a greater investment in marketing, both in terms of more marketing messages to an existing marketplace and improved marketing. Improved marketing in the way of improved messaging, improved visual appeal of your marketing messages and marketing communications, and improved marketing in terms of social proof. There's a lot of ways to improve the marketing that you have to increase the leads and therefore increase your sales conversions. You may also choose to do additional marketing in terms of new media. So we were online, but now we're branching out into radio or print or TV. Now we're branching out into door hangers, into coupons in the Valpak coupons that are mailed out every once in a while, into greater ads in the yellow pages or billboards, or, goodness, there are lots of ways to get your marketing message out in an existing market, to invest more in marketing so that you get more leads so that you can close more business. And also, I fit into this category, the improved sales conversion rates with investing in sales training or sales coaching of some way in order to improve your scripts so that you can improve your conversion rates. There's a lot of ways to improve your growth, to increase your organic growth without going to new markets or new products, just by investing in higher quality marketing within your existing market. You can also choose then to expand a new marketplace, new markets. If you're offline, you can go online. If you're online, you can go offline. And as we talked earlier, expansion is typically local and then regional and then national and then global, although with the power of the internet, we have the opportunity to go global right away. And you can do that offline marketing either with a captured sales force or with independent sales reps. Manufactured reps out there can be extremely valuable, especially if you have a physical product to sell. Because with physical products, oftentimes you need to you need to demonstrate them or put a prototype or a sample in the hands of your customers. And manufacturing reps in the 1860s, 70s used to go on horseback, and then in the 1920s or 30s by automobiles, would have a specific territory, and they would be able to take your prototypes, take your demonstration unit, take samples out, and put them in the hands of your prospects so that they could touch them, feel them, work with them a little bit, and then buy them over time. It's really important to have independent sales reps whenever you have a physical product that needs to be shown to your customers. You may choose to expand either in a way that's close to your competitors or far away from them, which I find very, very interesting. For example, oftentimes we'll see a lot of fast food restaurants on the same corner. There'll be a McDonald's and a Burger King and a Subway and a Dairy Queen all on the same corner because they're attracting the lunchtime crowd that way. So sometimes the best way to expand is to go where your competitors already are because your customers are already coming to that location, and chances are that they're not going to want to eat McDonald's or Burger King every day. Maybe they'll want one of your Subway sandwiches or a taco or something, once a week instead of just going to those other fast food restaurants. The other way, of course, is going far away. If you take a look at a location and see that the town is growing in that particular area and there's no ice cream shops or donut shops there so far, you may decide to put one of yours there because there's no other competitors anywhere close, and you can have a little bit of market dominance for a while until the market picks up and one of your competitors decides to open up one of their joints on the corner across the street. The fourth great organic growth strategy is to introduce new products. Those new products can be replacements of existing models that you already have in the marketplace, and you know that cars and computers and smartphones and electronics of all kinds have new model years like every single year. I think Apple now is introducing a new smartphone every single year, and it's been a tradition for, 50 or 60 years in the automobile industry to have some slight variations on their models every year so that the new models will be a little bit more attractive. Computers have a tendency to be updated every year these days as well. But also it's important for you to have new services. I know one thing that I do is I'm constantly releasing new products, new information products, and new service products to my marketplace. I listen, I understand what people want, what they really need, and I'm constantly introducing new products and new product lines, even though I have primarily a service business. So if you primarily have a service business, think about mixing it up every once in a while, giving your marketing people, giving your sales people something new to talk about, something that's interesting, that is a little bit optimistic and curious to your client base out there. When it comes to introducing new products, I want to talk a little bit about category management, because one of the interesting things about category management is if you offer a selection or you are seen to be part of a selection, you'll actually get more business. Procter & Gamble was one of the companies that really became a champion of category management dozens of years ago. They found that they like to have the premium products, but if they would position their premium products with a medium price product and a lower price product, that they would actually sell more of the premium products. Because when people have a selection of 3 or 4 items, they feel more comfortable making a decision, knowing that the decision that they're making is going to be just right for them. So it's good to offer products and services in a variety of different models. You may decide to introduce new models at a higher price point or new models at a lower price point. Whenever you have new models that you're introducing at a lower price point, it's called the knock yourself off strategy. So if you have a very let's say a premium product in the marketplace and you see the opportunity for a competitor to come in and undercut you in some way by offering a product that has slightly less features for a significantly lower price, you may choose to do that for yourself. and have different models and different prices at different prices in your product portfolio so that you can essentially beat your competitor to that. The classic example of that is General Motors. They have a Cadillac at the top, they've had Buick in the middle, and they got Chevrolet at the bottom. And so they are essentially knocking themselves off by offering different models and different products at different price points along the way. That's the fourth classic organic growth strategy, is to introduce new products. And the last one is to form partnerships and alliances. You may have noticed that when we talked about non-organic strategies, we talked about partnerships, joint ventures, and alliances as being a non-organic growth strategy, and it is when it's in the context of a new business. But within the context of your business, it's a pretty good idea to form partnerships and alliances as well. I did an office hours presentation on partnerships and alliances. I think it was on joint ventures. It may have been office hours number 11. I remember looking it up the other day. But there are four primary different types of partnerships and alliances that you might look to grow your business organically. First of all, technology alliances, where you work with somebody else to help form a technology or develop a technology that they can sell and you can sell. You may have an operational alliance where you share facilities or share some aspects of your operations. You might have a marketing alliance where you are seen together in terms of marketing brochures and maybe sharing a booth at a trade show in some way. But you're seen to be positioned together or have a bundled offering together that you have with a sales alliance. You can have partners that sell your products as an affiliate or referral relationship. You can sell your partners or alliance partners products through an affiliate relationship, through a referral relationship, or just simply a catalog relationship. So you might form those marketing alliances and those sell-through alliances to broaden your own product line, to be able to sell additional products and services to your existing customer base and therefore get additional margin from that. So those are the 5 classic organic growth strategies. Sell more to your existing customers, get more customers in existing markets, to expand into new markets, to introduce new products into your current markets, and to form partnership and alliances. I hope that's been of value to you, and I want you to think about that and brainstorm with that here, especially as you think about your growth strategies for next year. As we record this, it's late December 2014, and most people are beginning to turn their attention, if they haven't already, to their 2015 growth strategies. Well, here's 5 organic growth strategies that you might choose to employ in your business in 2015. As you think about that, there are 3 other things that I want to share with you to talk about. And one of those things is big steps and small steps. Some steps that you can take to the business are very big steps, and some can be small steps. You can take a big product launch or a small product launch. You can have a big step into a huge market that's a long ways away, or you can just introduce an additional version of your current store across town. You can move or add locations. You can shift your markets a little bit in a very big way or small way. You can add major funding, either equity funding or debt funding, anytime that you add a tremendous amount of funding to your business, primarily, by the way, to fund your product launches, your new market launches, or your new location launches. That's a very big deal. And of course, IPO is one of the biggest deals of all. Well, the reason I bring this up is because some of the steps that you might take, you might be betting the entire business on because they can be very risky. And one of the principles that you should know as you design your organic growth strategy is that major expansion can be just as risky as starting up in the first place. I've seen more than one company decide that they were ready for expansion, decide to invest heavily in expansion, and the expansion not work out very well for them at all. One of the ones that comes to mind was a pizza parlor in Southern California, which had been at the same location for 20 years, and business was going extremely well, and they decided to open up another pizza parlor across town with the same branding, the same messaging, the same everything, and it just didn't work out. It didn't work out because the location didn't work out. As it turned out, that their success for 20 years was primarily in with the local market. Most of their clients were local clients who had been coming to that location for a long, long time, and it was mostly a walk-in traffic. But when they went across town, then all of a sudden they were competing with other well-established pizza parlors in that area of town, and some of them had big brand names, and their second location didn't work out very well at all. So in their particular case, they lost a tremendous amount of money trying that second location, and it didn't work, and they almost went belly up as a company, even in their primary location, because they diverted so much of their profits towards trying out that second location. So it's not necessarily true that just because one location is very profitable and has been around for a long time, that you would be able to scale that business into additional locations. Same is true with product launches. Same is true with market launches, even within a single location. There's less risk in small growth steps than there is with large growth steps. So think about that as you design your growth strategies for next year. Another factor is that your growth strategy really depends on where you are in your business and your stage of growth in your business. So the growth strategy for a startup is much different than it is when you've just begun your company revenue, or when you're experiencing rapid growth, or when you're having steady growth, or when you find yourself in a turnaround mode versus one of those steady growth modes, or whether you're preparing for exit. One of the biggest challenges that I see small business owners face is they've been used to steady growth or rapid growth, and they all of a sudden find themselves in a turnaround situation, but they don't know how to deal with it, because growth in a turnaround situation is much different than growth in a steadily advancing business where you've been experiencing both revenues and profit growth over time. In a turnaround mode, it's time to be cutting the operating expenses. It may be time to shut down locations. It may be time to cut staff. It may be time to reduce the number of products that you have in the marketplace, all to get back to those core products in those core locations with that core market that are delivering the most significant profit. That can happen a lot, especially in a recessionary time. So the growth strategies for a turnaround company are much, much different than they are for a company that's either starting up or is experiencing growth in other areas. And by the way, growth strategies for those who are preparing for exit may not have much to do with revenues and profits. It may have to do with, at the example that we gave earlier, in terms of broadening the customer portfolio so that you're seen to be less risky and more valuable to those who might want to acquire your business. The third thing I want you to think about when it comes to your growth strategy is the product life cycle itself. Every product that you bring to market goes through an introduction phase, a growth stage, a maturity phase, and then a decline phase. And as the diagram shows, when you sense that your primary product lines are starting to decline in their value in the marketplace, that's the time to introduce a product line extension or new models of your current product line too. So think about whether or not you're in a position to risk a lot with big steps or small steps. Think about what stage of business that you're in, and think about where you are in your product life cycle when you decide which one of these organic and non-organic growth strategies to employ in your business for next year. So here's the bottom line. There's a lot of ways that you can grow your company. You can grow organically or you can grow non-organically. Some ways cost more than others. Some ways are a lot more risky than others. So it's important for you to pick the ways that are just right for your business based upon the size of your business, the stage of your business, the resources that you have, the opportunities that you see in the marketplace, and the appetite that you have for risk. That's been our presentation today. We talked about the old days, and today we talked about what is growth and what does that mean for you. We talked about non-organic growth and why that might be a great strategy for you. The 5 classic organic growth strategies, big steps, small steps, stages of growth, product life cycle factors, and the bottom line. So your homework is, as we've been talking throughout, pick the organic growth strategies and the non-organic growth strategies that are just right for you. Consider non-organic growth. Many companies don't consider that because they don't have a lot of experience with acquisitions and mergers. But if you see the opportunity, there are lots of people out there that can help you think through that and make a good and intelligent decision when it comes to non-organic growth too. And as always, get coaching and support from experienced people who care about you to accelerate your growth and your progress. We're going to open it up for questions and answers here in just a second. First, comments and questions on the topic of the day, and then any other issues that you might have. I really would like for you to tell me what your biggest insights were and your biggest takeaways are that you gathered from the presentation. Post them in one of our Brilliant Business groups on Facebook or LinkedIn if you could, and tell me what you're going to focus on. The distinctions that we have, that I have here at Hoyt Management Group, first of all, is that we focus on the whole person. I don't want a lot of your money. I want you to spend an appropriate amount of money on coaching, consulting, training, and education programs. I want you to get the support that you need right now, that you want right now, that you can really use and find great value from right now, and the support that you can afford. I want you to learn to swim before you jump into the deep end, and I don't believe that belief and persistence are enough to guarantee your success. I think they're necessary, but they're not sufficient. I think you also need a viable business model and a lot of support along the way. To that end, we offer support services in education, training, consulting, and coaching, and our newest growth management services, which are a do-it-with-you service. Some of the services we provide, Some of the services we provide are services where we teach you to do it for yourself. Other services are where we roll up our sleeves and do it with you, and still some of our services, we do it for you. In some cases, taking an operational role at your company as a project manager, as a growth specialist, leading staff meetings, doing part-time CFO or COO work as we help you grow your company. I encourage you to sign up for our Business Growth Acceleration Kit at paulhoyt.com/CEO bonus, where you get the new program I have, the 5 winning choices of the 5 choices of winning CEOs, an article on raising capital, some samples of my inspirational works, a free business clarity session with myself or one of our senior consultants, and some surprise bonuses as well. I think the value of that free service and free products are enormous. I also encourage you to purchase my CEO training program, Beyond Business Survival, because that really is what you need to know when you're the CEO, that will help you avoid those mistakes that can cost you $5,000 or $10,000 or more, that will help you avoid those mistakes that will slow you down or shut you down. As Nick Catricala says, I think the product's worth over 20 times as much as he paid for the product because of the clear, concise distinctions I have with business success principles that I know are going to be of great value to you. Our next office hours is going to be on December 29th, 1 week from today, and we're going to do something new. We're going to have open group coaching. So I'm not going to come into that office hours presentation with any theme or topic, but rather allow the people who are coming into that, who show up for the live presentation, the opportunity to get open group coaching during the call. So come next week and come with your questions and the topics that you would like to see addressed, and we'll address those topics not just from me, but from other people that are on the call as well. So we're going to give that a shot with open group coaching, and if it works well, we may do that once a month or so going forward. Send me your questions ahead of time if you would like to participate in that, so I can kind of organize them, and we can prepare a little bit to answer your questions, so I'm not just answering them off the top of my head, and we'll experiment with that a little bit. And for more formal presentations, tell me what topics you would like to see by going to www.paulssurvey.com and filling that out. In the meantime, do your homework. We're going to open it up for questions and answers now. First, comments and questions on the topic of the day, which was organic growth, with a whole bunch of added in non-organic growth stuff. Any other issues that you might want to talk about, any takeaways and insights that you have. And my contact information is on the screen. I look forward to connecting with you soon and discussing how we might be able to support you with your business. And with that, Stephanie, do we have any questions or discussion points for today's call?
We do. The first one, what sort of annual plan should I be working on, and can you help me with that?
I think absolutely the answer is we'd be honored to have a conversation with you to help you on that. And the type of annual plan that you do really depends upon your size of business. With very large businesses that have been around for a while, I think the right thing to do is to go off-site with your executive team for a couple of days, for 1 or 2 days, and really think everything through, to talk about everything that needs to be talked about, to review your competition, to review your markets, to take a look at your product development strategy, to take a look at your internal systems, to take a look at who's in the critical positions at your company. You know, I've got a long list of questions that I go through whenever I facilitate an off-site strategic planning process. For other companies, for startup companies or very small companies, maybe it's just spending an hour or two with your coach or consultant to talk through what your annual goals are and what your quarterly goals are, so that you can have some things in mind, some things to shoot for out there. And of course, I'm a big believer, whether you do the executive offsite for a couple of days or just spend a couple of hours talking to somebody, I'm a huge big believer in a 90-day growth plan, which I think is about the minimum planning that most companies need. So even the smallest company out there can gain significant benefit from a 90-day growth plan. And we'd be honored to talk to you about the ways in which we can support you in developing your plans and your budgets and providing growth management services to help you stay on track and help you stay focused, you know, for the duration of 2015 too. So thanks for that question. I appreciate it. Next question, Stephanie.
Okay. I am ready to expand. Should I buy another company or launch a new location?
Great question. We talked about that around, and it really depends on where you are. If you can find another company that's established in the market that you want to jump out to, the geographic location that you want to jump out to, and you're very compatible, you know, pick up the phone and give them a call and see if they might be interested in a merger or interested in an acquisition. Because most really small businesses out there know that small businesses are, you know, only fun for about the first 4 or 5 years. After that, it begins, you know, something that you would really like to see some major expansion, that you see safety in numbers and you see, you know, more fun in the numbers as well. So if you can find a competitor that you think is very compatible with you in terms of their energy, their mindset, the markets that they serve, the products that they offer, you know, entertain those conversations about a merger or an acquisition. If not, if you see an opportunity for market dominance, if you're looking at a specific geographic location and you can't find anybody in that location that you would even care to partner with or talk to, then strongly consider opening up your own location there. But the way to do that is by putting some of your own talented resources in that location. So it may be somebody that's working in the home office that you think might be just right to be the general manager of that other location. Or, you know, you can go over there, you know, 2 or 3 days a week while you leave your home office in the tender loving care of somebody that can run the current location for a few weeks or for a few days a week. That might be just right for you. So it really does depend on your business, you know, how collaborative and cooperative you are, and whether or not you can see any competitors who might be potential joint venture or merger and acquisition partners with you. Next question.
Okay. I have a small company and am preparing for a new product launch. What advice do you have?
Well, the advice that I have is be cautious of the risk, because if the new product is dramatically different from all of your old products, you can take the wind out of your sails with regards to the new product. If the new product is replacing an existing product line or service line, you do have to be very cautious about that as well. If it's just, you know, a product line extension, or a slightly different version, either a higher priced and more feature rich product, or a lower price and less feature rich product, then you're not nearly as much at risk as you are if the new product is dramatically different from your existing products. It brings into mind something called the Osborne syndrome. Many of you don't remember this, but back in the early 1980s, before there was such a thing as an IBM PC, or around the early days of the introduction of the IBM PC and Microsoft, there was a famous guy named Adam Osborne who had been a professor. He'd written a great book on microcomputers and had introduced his own microcomputer line called the Osborne 1, which is a competitor to Compaq in those days, in that it was a portable product, a luggable product. He made the mistake of introducing to the marketplace, of announcing to the marketplace the Osborne 2, which was significantly faster, had a lot more storage, had a lot more features than the Osborne 1 was, and was going to carry virtually the same price tag, but it wasn't going to be available for like 4 months. And in between the time that he introduced the Osborne 2 and the time that he announced the Osborne 2, he went bankrupt because nobody was buying the Osborne 1. He had a lot of inventory on hand, and he couldn't move that inventory because everybody was waiting for the Osborne 2. So be cautious about when you introduce your replacement product that you're not obsoleting your current products, especially if you have physical products. If it's a digital product, if it's a service, then you don't have to be near as worried about obsoleting existing inventory, because the inventory is not very expensive inventory. It may be CDs or workbooks or something like that, or marketing collateral, but it's not quite the same as having a physical product that you are obsoleting. So that's the biggest thing. Small companies almost bet the farm every time they introduce a new product, especially if it's dramatically different from the products and services that they already have. Next question, Stephanie.
Okay. How do I pick the next product or market? Great one.
Well, and I walk people through a decision matrix process that we have whenever we help them make decisions just like this. I think the biggest thing is a combination of where you see the low-hanging fruit and where you want your business to be in the next 3 to 5 years. I'm always a big fan of looking out 2, 3, 5 years in the future and having a star to point towards as you design your growth strategies. So make sure that whatever new product that you come out with is consistent with those long-term plans, and make sure that the product is consistent with your short-term realities with regards to the current customer base, cash flow that you have. Some companies may have big dreams and a lot of money. That'd be a much different choice as to what your next product would be than if you had small dreams and very little money. Small dreams and very little money means typically product line extensions and very small product launches. Big dreams and lots of money means, huge product launches that may involve even additional locations and, massive marketing efforts. So it really kind of depends on where you are as to what the next product is that's just right for you, or the next location that's just right for you. I see it's 12:57, so we're coming up close to the top of the hour here. Stephanie, do we have any additional questions?
Nope, that's it.
Well, I want to thank you for the questions that did come in today. I want to thank you for all of the people who showed up and listened to this call live. It's always a joy to be able to do this, every Monday, practically every Monday for you. And this is a special holiday season. Today, as we record this, it's December 22nd. So for those of you who might listen to the recording here in the next couple of days, I want to wish you a very happy holiday and a very prosperous and happy New Year. And as always, as we sign off, this is Paul Hoyt, wishing you a most marvelous and prosperous day. Bye-bye.